Johnson. I told her the same thing. I came up with all kinds of excuses, Pastor.
All right.
Stand before you. I had one of the best seats in the house. You invited me to your house, so I do thank you for having me here. But I came up with all kinds of excuses to get out of this with Sister Hines, and I ran into her at a school, and I told her I wasn't feeling well, and I think we were 3-4 weeks out. I told her I would be sick that day, but she wouldn't take no for an answer. And then when I get here, she set me up because she put all these fantastic speakers, and let's give them a hand. Everybody that came before this year, and I have to come behind. And I looked at your program, and I mean, good-looking program. Do you see what I see? The power of Jesus. And so I looked at. You gave me 2 scriptures. The first one was Matthew 21, 18 through 19, and it reads, "Now in the morning, Jesus, he returned to the city. He was hungry, and he saw a fig tree by the road. And he came to it, and he found nothing but leaves on this fig tree. And he said to it, 'Let no fruit ever grow on you again.' And immediately the fig tree withered away."
Right.
And you also gave me Mark 11, 12 through 14. And it said, "Now the next day, when they had come out of Bethany, he, Jesus, was hungry. And seeing from afar a fig tree having leaves, he went to it to see if perhaps he would find something on it. When he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for it was not the season for fruit. In response, Jesus said to it, 'Let no one eat fruit from you ever again.'"
Right.
And his disciples heard it.
Yeah.
My subject was withering the fig tree. And you may not ever let me get back, Sister Hines, so I'm going to change that to the fig tree withered. The fig tree withered. Now let's take this word withering, withered. It means to become dry, sapless, to shrivel, or lose moisture. Now, if you would allow me a moment to peruse your sanctified imagination, I would like you to think back, and I do realize that some of you have to think back a little further than others, but there was a time when you saw something afar off, and it appeared to be looking good. It stopped you in your tracks. But when you closed the distance, when you got in close proximity, when you got close enough to where your eyes could focus, when that distant object came sharply into view, it was not what it appeared to be when it was from a far distance. You were disappointed. I wish I had all day to expound on this, but my time is limited. At a distance, Jesus saw a fig tree with leaves, and being hungry, he approached it, hoping to find some fruit. Since a fig tree often produced fruit early, before it produced foliage, Jesus had an expectation of fruit being on the tree. Upon reaching the tree, all he found was leaves. The tree had not produced any fruit, for it was not the season for figs. Now we must understand the growth and reproductive cycles of a fig tree. Now the fig tree puts forth its fruit first, and afterwards its leaves. If you ever seen a fig tree, watch it. The fruit growers know that ordinarily a small amount of fruit ripens prior to the main crop. It's referred to as the first ripe fruit or the first fruit. Now Jesus, when he approached the tree, it was the time of the first fruit. Now I have to be careful when I stand here because I know we got Bible readers and we got the bishop sitting here. So it was the time of the first fruit, but it was not yet time for the main harvest. Right. So Mark 11:13 must mean that this particular tree, which Christ expected to find fruit, was barren. And it was barren because there was no figs on it at all, and it did not serve its purpose. It did not fulfill its purpose. And as a diligent orchardist would do, Jesus simply eliminated an unproductive tree. But he didn't use an axe. He didn't use a saw. He used faith. He eliminated it by faith. A fig tree with leaves on it, but no fruit, it's worthless. It's worthless. Now, in order for us to understand this passage, we need to have an understanding of the importance of a fig tree as it relates to the nation of Israel. All right? And we need to understand how the fig tree is often used in scriptures to symbolically represent Israel. The fig tree depicts natural Israel. Now, Jesus had come to his people looking for, no. He came to his people expecting to find fruit. The fruit was a testimony of God's goodness, of his blessings, of the fruit that should have been there as a result of the blessings from serving the living God.
All right. Amen.
That's what he was expecting to find. But what he found instead was empty religious rituals and outward appearance, but no substance. No substance at all. Leaves, but no fruit. Leaves, but no fruit. All they had produced was a whole bunch of righteousness by works, not of faith. Matter of fact, it was a bluff, if you will. In other words, you know what it was? It was hypocrisy. It was hypocrisy. So thinking of the fig tree as the nation of Israel having a deceptive appearance, while very religious outward with all the sacrifices and the ceremonies, they were spiritually barren because of their sins. Because of their sins. The people of this nation, see, they was in a covenant with God. They had a relationship with God, and they might, like they had this outward appearance that they were observing the law, but the nation as a whole had proved to be lacking in faith and barren of good fruitage. So they had this appearance like they were doing good as they were right, and that's all it was. It was all show, no substance, no substance. Just like the fig tree, leaves but no fruit. They even rejected God's own son, hence by causing the unproductive fig tree to wither. Now Jesus demonstrated what the end would be with this fruitless, faithless nation. Jesus was effectively denouncing Israel's worship of God. With the cursing of the fig tree, he was symbolically denouncing Israel as a nation, and in a sense even denouncing unfruitful Christians. And that's people who profess to be a Christian, but they have no evidence of a relationship with God. The presence of the fig tree was considered to be a symbol of blessing and prosperity for the nation of Israel. And the absence or death of a fig tree would symbolize judgment and rejection. The fig tree represented the spiritual deadness of Israel. By cleansing the temple and cursing the fig tree, causing it to wither and die, Jesus was pronouncing his coming judgment of Israel and demonstrating his power to carry it out. Now, it may appear that Jesus is just responding in anger to the tree cursing. And when I say cursing, I don't mean curse words, putting a curse on the tree in tantrum-like behavior, but that's not the case at all. you got to keep in mind the broader backdrop of Jesus' teaching and his mythology. He often involves parables. Jesus, in this present case, is performing a living parable. Jesus' cursing of the fig tree was an acted out parable that taught the disciples that God will judge those who gives the outward appearance of being fruitful, but in fact are not fruitful at all. Just like the Pharisees. Now perhaps Jesus was teaching that at a distance, the Jewish temple and its sacrificial activities, it looked fine. But at a closer inspection, it was found to be mere religion without substance, full of hypocrisy, bearing no spiritual fruit, ripe for judgment. Jesus used this incident to teach his disciples and Christians today that the outward appearance does not, I repeat, does not count with God. Instead, what really counts is whether or not one produce godly fruit in his or her life. Everything God has for us can only be received by faith in Jesus' finished work. You cannot add to it with your striving, with your good works, or with your good name. They only come by grace, unearned, unmerited, undeserved favor. And that, church, is why Jesus cursed the fig tree. I thank y'all for listening. I thank y'all for having me. God bless you.